I said when the game first ended that I couldn't find the words, and that's a lot for me, and I still feel that way. I'm still having trouble finding the words, and that says a lot for me, because I don't think Mike McCarthy coached that game well. He didn't. The team looked terrible. They looked unprepared. But I also have to think about if a couple of those interceptions hadn't happened, if some of those attempted passes had actually been connections instead of being dropped passes, missed passes, grounded balls, what would that offense have looked like? Instead of them, punting on their first possession, would that drive not have been extended? I understand people's desire to get away from Mike McCarthy. I do. But it's hard for me to justify actually getting rid of the guy, considering that for the most part, he's done well. And this was also his first year really being able to implement the offense that he wanted to implement and call plays the way that he wanted to call them. Firing him does not sit right, but something has to change, because honestly, even from an objective point of view, it's like you look at it and it's like, how do you even get back to a healthy and respectful locker room culture after that? We had players this year really riding for Dak Prescott, even on the defensive side of the ball. And I just have to wonder if they're going to look at him the same, and if they're going to respect him the same, and if they're going to trust his leadership and his abilities the same. I don't know. And then same thing with Mike McCarthy. You do have to wonder how they're going to look at him. Now, I'm gonna read some of y'all's comments real quick, and then I'm gonna read something that Jane Slater posted that actually gives us some insight into how the players are looking at Mike McCarthy, and then I'm gonna tell you why that's a big-ass problem and it pisses me off. Here's a post from Jane Slater where she talked about how some of the players feel about Mike McCarthy. So this was something that Jane Slater posted on yesterday afternoon, and it's a few tweets in one thread, so give me a minute because it's gonna take a read because it's several tweets. But she said, and this is via her Twitter, Slater NFL, she said, "To the fans who think this team has quit on Mike McCarthy, my conversations with players don't tell me that at all. Really interesting hearing them defend him, his culture, and how he's led them on the field and off of it. Their ownership of failing Mike is what stands out the most. Nuggets like wanting players on Saturday practices to bring their families so he can meet them and interact, meeting breaks to text a loved one and say thank you for their support, preservation of their bodies with rest days, his love of players like none I've had before." And that was a quote. Another quote, "In order to be a great leader, you have to be a great man yourself. Mike puts it all out there for everyone to be successful. I was told they know it's a business and Jerry Jones wants success, but they still believe they are close. Fans can roll their eyes, but I do think players' thoughts matter as Jerry Jones weighs this decision. Another player was frustrated with the stubbornness to stick to schemes on both sides of the ball, motion offenses killing defenses, and concern that Dak panics when first read is not there." So she talked a lot about the positive there and a little bit about the negative. But let's focus on the positive, because honestly, and I've been saying this since before even the season started, I love how Mike McCarthy advocates for his players. I love that he looks at them as human beings. I love the way that he considers their mental health, their physical health, all of that. But what the players have basically done with this performance is put Mike McCarthy in a position where it looks like that approach doesn't get results. And that's bad not only for the Dallas Cowboys, but for other players who might have a hope of getting a coach like Mike McCarthy, because now other teams are gonna look at that and be like, yeah, the players are well taken care of. They're healthier physically and mentally, but does that actually translate to success? Seems like it translates to, postseason failure. And maybe being harder on your team, maybe being a little tougher on your team is the way to get success and build a dynasty, so on and so forth. So it's one of those situations where it's like, if you really do, players appreciate everything that Mike McCarthy has done for you and the way that he's advocated for you to have a work-life balance and to take care of your mental health and to take care of your physical health and not run you into the ground physically and mentally, what you should have done is show up for him. And you didn't. And so that could potentially not only lose you a coach, it could lose you the culture that you seem to value and care about so much. Because how can you justify it? Like, how can you say we deserve these things, we need these things, they're important, but then you don't show up? you don't actually deliver the performance that says this kind of culture can work in the NFL. This kind of culture, this kind of environment can actually produce results that we want. We can take good players and treat them well and be considerate of their health, both physically and mentally and emotionally. We can be considerate of their families, and we can still win. Nah, players, what you have done is shown the entire NFL and all the fans is that like, yo, when we get treated nice, when we get to stay in nice places for training camp, when we get to sleep in our beds before home games, we gonna show up and phone it in the postseason. And it's gonna be just like none of that ever happened anyway. So that is probably one of the most frustrating things for me as a person who wants to see players get treated better and to be treated like human beings, not only within their own team, but by the media and everybody else. I hate, like, even had they lost, had they shown up a little bit tougher, maybe you could justify this approach. But now, am I frozen? Okay, I'm back. But now, for the Cowboys and any other team, any other player, any other coach that wants to justify this more balanced approach in terms of how players are treated off the field, it's gonna be tough to convince anybody in leadership that that's what should actually happen. So I can't say with confidence that I expect Mike McCarthy to be on, but I will say